idea that we're trying to influence the kids into being gay. I'm like, I hate to tell you, but gay is not about sex. You can be gay and have never had sex. You can. And so that means kids are gay. 5-year-olds are gay. They know they like a little fucking boy and they are sure about it. It's the parents that have the issue with it. And it's only because of what the parents think other people are going to think about them. It really isn't even their own kid. Most parents will accept their own kid for their own stuff, but they do have the things where they say, don't do that in public. And that's what they want to do to our sexualities. When I fell in love, when I was about, I think it was 20 something, in my 20s, I was in love with some guy. You know, you were in love with some guy and he's the wrong man. That's a TV show. We're in love with the wrong man.
Exactly.
And so I was in love with the wrong man. He had broken my heart. And my mom called me from around the corner and was like, I'm going to drop by. Now, I'm out to my mom at that point, but we don't talk. This is a don't do this in public thing, right? And I am hurting, gutted, tears. So I wipe my face, try to get my voice box down, because you know when you're upset, your mom can hear your voice. So I got relaxed myself, and I went to the door and I tried to talk to her normally, and she could see it, but she still couldn't say anything yet. So there's this weird thing in the air, her own child's heartbreak, but she can't bring herself yet to have that kind of a discussion, even though she's had it with her daughters. She's had it with her friends. She's had it 1,000,000 times, in fact. But this is me, and this is me in loving a man. What she did do, symbolically, to her credit, was she kept asking me if I was feeling well. She tried to make it physical. You know, moms do that. When they can't handle your emotional pain, they try to do something physical, cook, give you something, make you more comfortable. Sorry. And then she said to me, you just need some water. You just need a little bit of water. And I said, okay. She said, well, drink it now. Get a glass, and I got some water. And I'm drinking, and she goes, just drink it back. Just drink it back. And she kept rubbing my back. And I knew she meant my tears. But she still couldn't say it. It took her a little longer before she could openly discuss my relationships and the condition of my heart. And I did tell her that that's the only aught I'd ever had with her as my mother, was that she as a mother for me was ideal in a lot of ways. Intellectual, fun, we hang out, everything. But I could never talk to you about the condition of my heart. And it had been broken a couple of times, and I couldn't think of anyone in the world that I wanted to tell more than the person I couldn't tell.
Remember I told you I was bitter? like one, I would say that was my first experience where sex wasn't a thing, right? Like where sex wasn't an immediate part of it. Outside of that, all my other interactions with people have been the because even with the person that I first had sex with, it was a really cool relationship, but that was the first time that I was we would go out, hold hands in public, I'm gonna go visit, you gonna sleep over, I'm gonna sleep, right? All of those things. And that was a time, and then I'm trying to think outside of that, personally, I say I have not experienced no first love. I've experienced a heartbreak. And that's just because the person did not deserve to be the first love. They because they didn't love me, they hurt me. And so I've only got to experience heartbreak. I haven't really gotten to experience like healthy, let me go get into this because you're into me in that same capacity. Like, let me hold you. Let's like unlearn the like heteronormative ways of like relationships. Like, let's unlearn that and create whatever we want. That has not been real. Like, I think in my experiences, folks have moved in that same thought of like heteronormative like relationship behavior, and like I'd be like, I'm not interested in that. Like, right, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in us like creating whatever that looks like. I will say I have some amazing beautiful experiences with people, right, where we're able to just be together. And I think those are the greatest, because like when folks, I appreciate when folks are able to feel like they don't got to put up a front anymore around me. This has been so like my first experience was like at 16.
So that was a really pivotal time.
I was going through it.
Yeah.
Like the foundations of my life were being like grounded, cemented.
I've been with my current partner for, it'll be 7 years next week or the beginning of the following week. There's 2 timelines out on that. I don't remember. I have to look. Whatever Friday. Well, there's also a conversation about what day was the actual official day, but somewhere between the 15th and the 24th of October. And people are always awed. They're like, wow, you've been together so long. And it's funny because people, I mean, it is good or else we wouldn't be here, but people hear the time and assume that it's amazing. And I always ask them, well, why do you think it's amazing? It's because we've been together this long. You know, I could be getting beat left and right, but we've just been together for 7 years. And they're always like, oh, well, it's like, yeah, you don't know. Like, I appreciate you being like, oh, wow, I know this is like, you know, a rarity to see like this, but don't just assume that it's something to emulate just because we've been together for 7 years, because you haven't seen any of our relationship at all. You know, like, don't, like, again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's not. It's just, don't be deceived by a number. Kind of go along with our strengths. And the funny thing is, at various times, like if it's something like this, I mean, I don't have any word for it, but like typical human day-to-day stuff, he is way better at that than me. He's like, have you eaten today? I think so. When's the last time I have a headache. Why do I have a headache? Well, I saw you eat at 9 this morning and it's 4 o'clock now. Have you eaten anything? Maybe not. You should eat something. I'm tired. Did you consider going to sleep? Oh, all right. Like, you know, just like completely, like, just, again, I mean, I've been surviving before him, but like when it comes to that, he's, yes, the one. But then when it comes to like, actually, I don't want to say that because like we're both, you know, pretty good at strategizing things. But like other things, let's say if it's like a long-term plan, right, of how to get to a certain thing, I will have that thing plotted out to the nines, and I will tell what every spot needs to be. Or it's like, okay, this is how you like, just in those more esoteric kind of ways. That's me. So it was like, okay, if someone's going to make sure that we're fed, it's him. If someone's going to make sure that the dog is, you know, trained a particular way, or it's like, oh, wait, no, this is what's actually happening, it's going to be me. You know, something to that extent. So we kind of fill in where our strengths are evident. That's kind of what we do. We just kind of fill in the gaps for one another. That's another reason why I'm glad I kind of came into it, you know, from the side instead of being kind of raised up in it, because that stuff just never made sense to me. And, you know, I think because of that, my interactions have not been as frequent, but the quality has been much higher. And clearly, I'm only in one right now, so all the others previously clearly have ended, but they were still good. You know what I mean? Like they still, they had their quality to them. And so I just think that's important. I think that even for us, like we just had to kind of, and we still do, I think we have to kind of always sit down and say, okay, well, what do we do now? How do we fix this now? Or just, because I think too, what people don't realize is, I know it's that popular Eartha Kitt quote that, oh, you shouldn't have to compromise in a relationship. And it's like, well, listen, I'm so sorry. I know we love Eartha, but she was wrong. Eartha was not trying to live in a house with 2.5 kids and a dog and a husband like you are. And the idea that you're going to be in any type of long-term fulfilling relationship and never have to compromise is ridiculous.
Also narcissistic.
It's narcissistic. You're right. It's like, no, you're going to have to compromise. The issue is, what are you compromising? Are you compromising yourself? And are you making all the compromises? And it's not always 100. It's not always 50-50. There were various times in our relationship that it was 70-30 or 60-40 or 90-10. You know what I mean? The issue isn't that, and sometimes it's not because someone doesn't care. It's like, hey, someone loses a job, someone has a health issue, someone is depressed, someone has a sick family member that they, like, any type of thing, they're stressed out from work and work has been to hell and they can't even hold their eyes open, let alone give you a hug. And so what do you feel about this person when they can't give you what you want? And I think that's the thing that people miss. It's like, when this person can't give you everything you want, how do you feel about them? Because otherwise they're just like a candy machine. They're a vending machine. And you really don't care about them. You like what they do for you, which in and of itself isn't an issue. But if you're going to be in a certain type of relationship where you're concerned about someone's feelings and emotions and well-being, that doesn't work. It really doesn't.
No, that was very well said. I definitely agree, because you don't know. And most people, whether it's gay, straight, blue, or black.
Yeah, I think how I put it is, when people said, oh, don't settle, it's like, no, everybody settles. The issue is, what are you settling for? Because guess what? Someone is settling for you. You are someone settle. Let's be clear. Because there are, if we have a running list, there is a better option somewhere. I just didn't meet them yet, and I met you first. That sounds harsh, but it's true. It's like, no, there is completely, I am sure that there are lots of people who would check off far more boxes, not all of them, but far more boxes on paper than I would for him, and even vice versa. But that's not reality. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that we don't generally care about another, but it's like, everybody settles. The thing is, what are you settling for? And to me, it's like, I'm settling for a person, like, I am introverted. Going out of the house drains me. Like, I have like a good hour and a half tops when there's other people around, and people that I like. I wanted to leave my own surprise party a couple of years ago because I was exhausted and I didn't know it was going to happen. I needed time to prepare. And so, but he loves being out and about, whatever. And even early on our issue, we just kind of had to figure out that, listen, go do you. I'm going to be over here and I'll be here when you get back. I don't really want to. There were other reasons for that too, as we found out as time went on. But, that's just like it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing dance. And it's not just like a one-time deal, like, oh, I like this car, give me that one. And then you're done until it's time for another car. It's not like that at all. And I think because people think it is that way, that they have unrealistic expectations. And when all of a sudden it gets rough and rocky, it's like, well, this is bad, I want to throw it away. And it's like, but that's a person, right? And people go through all sorts of seasons and ups and downs. And sometimes they don't have that. A lot of times they have nothing to do with you. Because that person has their own life and own reality that you are a part of. And you have to figure out, and vice versa, you have to figure out how to navigate that.
No,
but again, who's going to show us the skills to do that if we don't see it? And to be frank, at least I don't know how it is now, but a lot of the examples that I see, I'm not really wild about, because it's about like, we're a power couple. We're going to get people to wear ties and dress shirts. It's like just like gay men creating typical straight stuff, which I'm like, yeah, You know, and again, if that's what you want to go for, that's fine. But you also don't have to be a soap opera power couple for it to be a meaningful queer relationship as well. You don't need to, progress doesn't mean wearing a tie and pulling up your pants. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. It's like, you know, we're, you know, do this and this is how you got to build and build. Build could just be, look, we saving money going on vacation. Like it doesn't, you don't have to be overwhelmingly successful or look like you're successful and, you know, just wearing successful cosplay.
Is we have division in our own community. You know, they protect the burly straight assuming gay, but the one you know, who has on makeup and flamboyant, you know, the life is devalued. We see that today with the trans murders, you know, and we know, you know, some of it is, you know, because of some things that shouldn't go on that, you know, they may be doing, but it's still, they still shouldn't, life shouldn't be taken. And so anyway, you know, it's a devalue of the feminine man. And we, of course, we see that in, you know, we see that with all the top and bottom and all of that culture. Most of this stuff we learn from the heterosexual community, and it doesn't work for them. The reason those barriers and all of those things and all of these labels have started in the gay community was because it was to mirror the straight culture. The woman was meant to be docile in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You know, stay at home and, you know, take dick and, you know, take care of the kids and things like that. And so it transferred over into our culture, which means the man or that's a bottom or whatever. You know, they didn't even include versatiles when they made these rules. And that's a whole nother subject. Anyway, the man that took dick, you know, he was meant to be docile and sweet and not talk back and ride a man at night and cook and clean and all that. So it came from the straight community. And like I said, it doesn't work for them. That's why divorce is high on their side. That's one reason why gay marriage passed. It wasn't really to liberate gay folks. It's because the United States needs people getting married, need people filing jointly, building homes. Because the straight folks like, well, you see what happened to my mom and my grandmama with marriage ain't really for us. So so the United States said, let's pass some folks that want to get married and let the divorce, you know, it's money and divorces is money and separations is money and all that type of stuff.
It is.
You know,
it's
America
more contractual
is money.
than anything.
Contractual agreements is money. You got to realize it's America, honey. It ain't because they want to liberate you, child. They all that type of stuff. The gays going to Home Depot building a house. There's money in that, honey.
I'll be lying if I said no. Like, I don't believe okay, so if you wanted to be the house spouse, then be the house spouse. I think there's such strong empowerment that it's underrated. It's the underdog. I don't understand like having someone at the house. Like for me, especially when I was working 3 jobs, if I had somebody who was cleaning the house when I came home, having something to eat when I came home after working 3 jobs, that would be a godsend. You know what I mean? That's how I learned my love language, with acts of service. Like I'm in school, I'm having so many jobs, I have so many things going on for me, and if you can take out the trash, oh my God, you know what I mean? That's amazing. Those little small things are a big deal to me. Like I remember when I first started doing 3 jobs, and it was after my best friend died, and me and his sister were living in this house for a little bit, and she was watching his daughter, and I had came home with some pizza, you know what I mean? So like, I felt like I was like filling that provider role, having some food for her, having some food for me, having some food for the baby. I had to go get some diapers or some baby, something like that. But like I felt like I liked being in the provider role, you know what I'm saying? And it was just nice to have her there, that for somebody to ask me, so how was work? Because I know, I bet you're tired. You was like, yes, I am. I'm very tired. You know what I mean? Having somebody there just to be there for me. You know what I mean? And then, or so, long story short. So like, I see how they play a point. You know what I'm saying? If we want to be two people who are making income in the household, then we can be those two people. If you want to be working, I'll be at home. If I want to be working, you be at home. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily need to be a set gender. You know what I mean? I don't think it needs to be a femme gender or a mass gender. You know what I mean? But like, if that's just the role that you want to play, then that's the role that you want to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just what you're comfortable with, because I've done both. You know what I mean? When I was with my ex-fiance and I had 3 jobs, he didn't like I was working so much. So I quit a job so I can be at home more. And then he didn't like that he had to pay for so much. So it's like, I don't know what you want from me. So like, you need to pick a struggle because we're trying to pay rent and we have both car notes and we have car insurance. You know, so we have things to pay for. And me not having 3 jobs, especially not having a degree under my belt, making maybe $10 an hour and you making 12, we gonna have to play the role. We have like 2 incomes in the house, because like, or you're gonna have to be comfortable paying for more in the house. Like, we gonna have to figure out something. You know what I mean? So it's just, I guess it's just what you're comfortable with the couples, or however many people are in the group are comfortable with. You know what I mean? So there's like a few days out of the month where I just really feel like topping. So like, so it just worked perfectly for us, like sexually. So, but him being the top, or him being, especially when he was primarily a bottom, he did not mind feeling that I guess a quote unquote the mass gender role, because he was married to a female before. You know what I mean? So he kind of had those innate reflexes, so to speak. So so when we were together, it was, I was working, he was working, and I adjusted myself to however he wanted the relationship to grow, and how I wanted the relationship to grow too, because it wasn't, we argued a lot, but one of those wasn't an argument. It was like we were actually conversing with each other. I'm paying for too much, and I'm not sending money to my mother, and this is just uncomfortable for me. I'm not saying you're doing anything this and that. I just don't know how we're splitting rent down the middle, and I'm still don't have enough money. So I got 3 jobs. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm not seeing you enough. So you know what I'm saying? So like, it was kind of like the closest thing I had to a healthy relationship, and like gender roles were kind of in the mist. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really know what roles we were going to play. We just knew how our money was set up and how our bank account was working. So how is this going to best suit our bank accounts effectively?
You know what it is the idea of gay relationships patterning themselves after straight relationships is to use a flawed system and expect a good result. Even half their relationships and marriages end in divorce. Why use that? I'm married for five years now, and Tom and I have been together for 18 years. And one of the things when my friend says about our relationship, a few of them say it actually, but one of the things one particular friend says, which I love about it, is because it's an outside looking in. He says, I love that both of you are 100% yourself the entire time. And I was like, well, yeah. He was like, no, think about it. As a gay man, as a Black gay man, there's still breadwinners and little wifeys. Somebody gonna pay the bill, somebody not, you know what I mean? And it's not a partnership. It always feels like a paradigm. He was like, and you guys are just, you're this way sometime, he's that way. I was like, I have to be me. And there are parts of me that are masculine, there are parts of me that are feminine. The same thing for my husband. There are parts of him that are masculine and parts that are feminine. I had a straight girlfriend of mine once say to me, she and I have had cleared this up, but she once said to me, you know, I know Tom, like Tom is a man, and I'm not gonna use her husband's name in case she ever sees it. She says, but blank is a man. And then I said, what the hell is a man? What does he have, 4 balls? What exactly makes you a man? 2 dicks? Because if I don't understand, she was like, well, you know what I mean? I said, no, here's the issue. I said, the fact is, my husband built our gazebo in 4 days. My husband built our guest house in 2 months. My husband can fix anything, build anything. You can't name something that he can't build or fix. And she was like, well, yeah, I was like, but blank can't. And when you need something fixed, you got to call somebody. My man is a man, honey. He's a man. I was like, you're thinking too much about what he's doing in his bedroom, which makes you feel like you can say he's not as much of a man as your man. But I can attest to that he is better at handling money. He owned his business. He can build shit, and he can take care of puppies and babies and little old ladies. And he can cook, and he can paint. So what's your deal? Like, what makes a man? And she really kind of went, and we talked about it some more. She actually came to saying, it was really homophobic. I didn't even realize how homophobic that was. I was like, yeah. So because society keeps saying that there's these varying differences, but there aren't. We're all these things inside. We're complex beings. We talk about intersectionality, but we don't talk about the intersectionality of thought, the intersectionality of simply being without the labels. You're this, you're that role in this role. Then why can't we just do the holistic thing with each other in a gay relationship? Because I had failed attempts at relationships before. It was because everybody kept trying to play a role. I'm deepening my voice because I'm a top, so I got to have a fake voice. How long can I keep that going? Look, I didn't hit my camera. I don't even know how long thought I was going to keep. And then I'm afraid when my friends are around, I can't slip up. What the fuck is this? Are we in a play? Is this a Tyler Perry play? When I always tell my friends who say, how did you fall in love? I'm like, I fell in love with myself first. And I was very much in love with myself and didn't want to share myself with him at first because I was like, no. Although one of my favorite quotes ever is by Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt says, they asked her, will she ever find love? And she says, well, this is how I look at it. I fall in love with me, and I find someone to share me with. We've always been these whole separate people, never interdependent in weird ways. I will admit in the beginning, I tried to force it into a configuration that felt like heterosexist values, and it quickly fell apart. And it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be this and you're gonna be you, okay, fine. And since then, we've not had any issues with that. It's such misogyny embedded in it. Because the idea is that somehow you don't have power because you're a bottom. He's the husband. He's the top. All of that is insane. All of that is insane. That does not work for heterosexual couples and never has. If you look at couples that have been together a long time, most often they're equals. They found the equilibrium that keeps them working as a couple healthily and successfully. And most gay relationships I don't think work because we're so busy trying to do that and or check certain societal boxes without just saying, you know what? A relationship is the experience again of sharing my love for myself with someone else. Once it starts to become these outside things and other people start to have judgments, it can be tainted by that. And I'll be the first one in the years we've been together, when people have said top and bottom, even my stand-up act, I used to always say, when you think about top and bottom, do you look at a black couple and say, which one is the white one? Why does it fucking matter? It's a stupid question, and you're in somebody's personal business so that you can then ascribe a power dynamic, because that's the insidious part. It isn't even just wanting to think of you as a bottom, but it's power. Because they will then defer to your top husband or they'll ask certain questions of the bottom wife. It's disgusting.